Ever feel like you're just on a perpetual self-improvement treadmill?
All the time.
You're scrolling, you're hacking, you're optimizing everything. You're constantly chasing a version of yourself that is always just out of reach.
And we're sold this fantasy, this really powerful fantasy, that once we hit that next big milestone,
The promotion, the perfect morning routine, a new house.
that specific weight on the scale, then we'll finally unlock some kind of lasting happiness.
Yeah.
And, well, it's one of the most widespread psychological traps of modern life. That feeling, that profound expectation that your happiness is conditional on some future event, that has a name.
It does.
It's called the arrival fallacy. The term was coined by the positive psychology expert Tal Ben-Shahar.
Okay.
And it's the false belief that getting that one specific singular goal will result in, like, permanent fulfillment.
And once you give it a name, you start seeing it absolutely everywhere.
Oh.
It's the athlete who wins the gold medal and then boom, immediately feels empty. It's the entrepreneur who sells their company and then wakes up on Monday and has no idea what to do with themselves.
Exactly.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack this illusion. We want to understand why the joy of arriving is so fleeting and how a multi-billion-dollar industry actually promotes this cycle of anxiety.
And we'll also look at why some philosophers argue we've traded genuine peace for something they call voluntary self-exploitation.
So is your quest for better actually making you miserable? Let's dig into the source material you brought.
Okay, so the core mechanism of the arrival fallacy, it's this idea of conditional happiness.
Right.
We set these really rigid, super demanding targets, and we just relentlessly delay any gratification. We tell ourselves that all the hard work is worth it because the payoff, the happiness, that'll be delivered after the goal is met.
But when you finally cross that finish line, the joy you were anticipating it's shockingly fleeting. It might last an hour, maybe a day, if you're lucky, a whole weekend.
Yeah.
And then it's just replaced by this strange sense of emptiness, a disillusionment, and this is the killer immediately, that familiar anxiety about what you need to start chasing next.
It's almost worse than before you started the chase.
It really is.
And that's a key insight from Ben-Shahar. The journey, the process, it often holds far more emotional significance and sustained happiness than the destination itself.
So if you anchor your entire emotional well-being to just one single future achievement,
You unintentionally overlook, you devalue, and you ultimately just sacrifice the present moment. So once the goal is reached and that external excitement fades, if you haven't cultivated any present happiness, you just feel abandoned. And you immediately start that frantic scramble for the next target.
the sources gave us a really clear, almost heartbreaking example of this in the story of Caleb.
Yes.
Caleb was a classic high achiever who spent 5 years sacrificing absolutely everything, late nights, weekends, holidays, all to get this hard-won promotion to vice president.
He had a singular focus.
Totally. Achieve the title and his life would fall into place. He literally told himself, when I get this promotion, then I'll be happy and my family will finally understand why I was so absent.
And when he finally got the VP title, that initial exhilaration, I think it lasted, maybe 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's it. Then reality just slammed into him. He was the same person with the same internal doubts, but now he had a much messier, way more stressful job.
He was immediately confused, realizing the title hadn't, transformed him into this confident, settled person he expected to become.
And the unintended consequences were just disastrous. His singular focus on that title had left his team completely demoralized and burned out, which forced him into immediate damage control.
And worse.
Worse, his family relationships were frayed. He hadn't just worked hard, he'd pushed his personal life way past the breaking point, all for a title that gave him absolutely no lasting emotional payoff. That confusion just turned into anger. And not at the system, but at himself, for believing the title was the key.
Caleb's experience, it maps perfectly onto the immediate psychological toll of the arrival fallacy. You maintain this perpetual dissatisfaction no matter how much you achieve.
And the constant work, without that emotional payoff, that leads directly to burnout.
Deep burnout. And you can become desensitized to actual successes because you've trained your brain only to value the next major peak.
And then, when the expected happiness just doesn't show up, you start to question your own self-worth. It's a total lose-lose situation.
It really is.
So, we know it's a profound psychological phenomenon, but this isn't just a private neurosis, right? It feels structural. So the question is, what are the societal forces, what's the economic operating system that ensures we all internalize this fallacy? Why is society so good at convincing us that achievement has to equal happiness.
And that's where we really need to zoom out and look at the cultural context. It starts with social conditioning. I mean, we're taught this from childhood, but the system is engineered to encourage this behavior. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we move from personal psychology to the philosophical critique, specifically the work of Byung-Chul Han on the nature of our society today.
Right, and this is where it gets really interesting and counterintuitive. Han describes our current state not as a disciplinary society.
The old model.
Right, the old model governed by prohibitions, but no, by institutions like prisons and factories. Instead, he calls it an achievement society.
And what's fascinating here is that the command structure completely changes. The old system controlled people through external restraint.
Right.
But the new achievement society, which is built on the fuel of neoliberalism, is governed by projects, initiatives, and motivation. The cultural mantra is, yes, we can, or just do it.
So it transforms us from these passive, obedient subjects.
Into highly motivated achievement subjects.
Wait, so you're saying that being constantly told yes, we can, and being encouraged to pursue our dreams is actually more oppressive than being told, no, you can't?
Yeah.
That just seems like a deep paradox.
It is the ultimate paradox. The individual feels absolutely free. They are the lord and master of themselves, the self-made entrepreneur, totally responsible for their own destiny.
But because all the external restraints are gone.
The striving never stops. They are trapped in this cycle of self-exploitation, always pushing to be better, faster, more efficient. The anxiety isn't about being punished by some authority figure. It stems from the constant internal fear of failing, of being left behind, of becoming a loser in this performance-obsessed system. You've internalized the whip.
And this is where the self-help movement becomes the perfect ideological tool. It just reinforces this message of extreme self-responsibility.
We see it everywhere.
The idea that external problems like a recession, systemic inequality, or a toxic workplace are basically irrelevant. The focus must always be on your individual response and your self-mastery.
Precisely. We are constantly encouraged to adopt this hyper-individualized view of success. If we look at the Covey source, the focus is on responsibility. The idea that the problem is never the external event, but always our response to it.
Which means if you fail, the problem is always you, not the system.
Exactly.
And this just brilliantly shifts the blame from any structural or systemic issues onto personal failings. You are resilient enough, you just need to push through, or it's all due to your neglect, sloth, or negative thinking.
So instead of demanding better working conditions, we're told to pursue therapeutic counseling to better control our emotional responses to the crushing stress. The result is, the anxiety is real, but the prescription is only ever individual.
And when there's chronic, pervasive, unresolved anxiety about performance,
there is always someone willing to sell you the cure.
And that cure is a multi-billion-dollar machine we can call the wellness and self-help industry, or WASH.
The scale is staggering.
Yeah, the U.S. self-improvement and personal growth market hit $13.4 billion in 2022. This is a powerful system where that persistent, unresolved anxiety about employment, productivity, and performance just continuously expands the industry. It guarantees a steady flow of consumers who are desperate for the next hack.
And you can see how this machine operates just by looking at the language it uses. The self-help literature is just saturated with terms beginning with
self-management, self-mastery, self-development, self-caring,
self-fulfillment. This constant language of self implies that you are a project that is always incomplete, always in need of an upgrade.
It turns your personal worth into market worth. This continuous effort to renew and upgrade one's confidence is often visualized in these measurable, marketable forms like competence portfolios or productivity dashboards.
So you're constantly assessing your market value instead of your inherent self-value.
And this leads us to the critical paradox that Han identified, which is voluntary self-exploitation.
Let's dig into that term because it's so important.
It is the core insight of this entire dive. If we are the achievement subject, we voluntarily adopt these self-help techniques, the self-monitoring, the strict disciplining, the goal setting, in a completely endless cycle.
One guru even defines success as CA9, continuous and never-ending improvement.
Continuous and never-ending improvement. Just think about that term.
What Canonai does is it moves the goalposts perpetually further away. It takes a useful corporate strategy, improved efficiency, and turns it into a personal mandate.
You are never allowed to finish.
Never. Because if you are finished, you're no longer productive, and therefore, you are failing.
So, the exploiter, the system that demands infinite productivity, is at the same time they exploited us, striving to meet those demands.
We feel this compulsive freedom to achieve, but it results in what he calls a free constraint. We choose this constraint believing we are optimizing our lives, but we are actually just maximizing our output until we collapse.
You see, this played out perfectly in social media culture. I mean, look at the that girl aesthetic or the obsessive 5 to 9 routines before and after the 9 to 5 job.
Right.
These productivity aesthetics, they push users towards self-betterment, and it's supposedly for internal well-being, better mental health, better body image, but the actual function is to maximize their potential as a perfect worker and a hyper-consumer under capitalism.
It just serves to maintain the status quo by masking the grind with this layer of excessive self-positivity.
And this is often tied to belief systems like the law of attraction, where the underlying message is you will always get what you think.
So if you aren't succeeding, it must be because you weren't meditating hard enough or you weren't manifesting with enough enthusiasm. Again, the fault is entirely individual.
This whole mentality of optimization, it treats the human being less like a living organism and more like a machine.
Like an equation, input A plus input B must equal the desired outcome.
We apply metrics to everything from running pace to deep work blocks to our sleep cycles. We start optimizing simple enjoyment right out of the activity itself.
I think everyone listening can relate to that. You buy a sleep tracker to improve your rest, and then suddenly the act of sleeping becomes this measure of performance.
Totally. If the data says you only got 78% of your REM goal, the next day you feel anxious, even if you felt perfectly fine when you woke up. The metrics ruin the peace of the activity.
And that anxiety is a direct consequence of this optimization mentality, which prioritizes output and productivity above peace of mind. And this relentless pursuit, this fear of inefficiency, it has severe consequences.
Han makes a really potent distinction here between being merely tired and being exhausted.
Oh, this is so important.
We all get tired. Tiredness is physical, it can be fixed with a nap or a good night's sleep. But exhaustion, the way Han describes it, is a profound psychic collapse.
It's when you've lost hope, when you've lost the capacity for imagination or personal growth because the cycle of striving has completely taken over. It's not just physical weariness, it's a spiritual depletion.
It's the ultimate cost of the relentless pursuit of productivity that the achievement society demands. You lose the ability to even envision a life that isn't defined by the next metric.
And there are documented, tangible consequences to this hyper-optimization. We're seeing a phenomenon that's being called betterment burnout.
Betterment burnout.
It's where the relentless pursuit of change and self-development actually lowers life satisfaction.
So you're trying so hard to be better that you actually become less happy in the process. That's brutal.
And furthermore, this focus on individual metrics and solitary achievement isolates us. The systems push us into a position where we act as atomized consumers, just isolated individuals and competitors for more accomplishments. This actively erodes social solidarity.
Of course. If my success is entirely my responsibility and I'm in competition with you, why would I ever invest time in building community or helping others?
It's a lonely path.
So if this entire structural machine is built to feed us into the arrival fallacy, how do we break the cycle? Where do we find a genuine escape?
Well, the sources suggest the first path out is it's simple, though difficult. You have to shift your perspective.
Okay.
Lasting well-being is found not in future outcomes, but in the quality of how we experience each moment.
So it's about the process.
Tal Ben-Shahar's strategies focus on appreciating that process and decoupling success from self-worth. First, practice mindfulness. That means fully focusing on the present moment with a non-judgmental awareness. It helps rewire the brain to find immediate joy in the process of living, not just the outcome of achieving.
Second, celebrate small wins. We need to acknowledge and reinforce positive emotions throughout the process, rather than delaying all that emotional gratification until some major distant accomplishment.
Did you put in an honest effort today? That's a win.
Right. And third, practice gratitude, actively appreciating existing joys and blessings in the present moment.
And this is a deliberate cognitive reframing away from scarcity, this idea that you don't have enough until you achieve X and toward abundance. The recognition that you already possess valuable things.
So rather than constantly striving to optimize our lives based on these external metrics, maybe the truest optimization exercise is internal.
How so?
The sources talk about a kind of true optimization exercise, listing what you genuinely love, whittling it down to the 10 most important things, your core values, and then honestly assessing how often you actually get to do them. It shifts the focus from efficiency to authentic engagement.
So it's about being led by curiosity and genuine passion and listening to your body and intuition before you check the data.
Exactly. You shouldn't be told the best time to write because an algorithm said so. You should write when the urge strikes you, when you feel inspired.
Yeah.
That's following internal, not external motivation.
And finally, we have to reclaim the idea of self care. The superficial, commercialized consumption of self help was a trap, but the harder work of genuine self care is vital for survival within this achievement society.
It's necessary to resist that internal pressure to constantly maximize your output.
We look to the powerful words of the poet and activist Audre Lorde, who said self care is not self indulgence, it is self preservation, and that is an act of political warfare.
It's about drawing a line in the sand and not letting the exploitative system claim your entire capacity for rest, for imagination, and for peace.
Yeah.
So here's the summary takeaway. The deep human longing for happiness is real. But the prescriptive path offered by the self-help industry, constant improvement and chasing the next big achievement, is at its core the neoliberal trap of the arrival fallacy that leads straight to burnout and voluntary self-exploitation.
And the key is criticality. The problem with self help is often not the individual tools themselves, mindfulness, discipline, goal setting, but the intent that drives them.
Right.
If you're driven by self hate or the fear of being a loser, you'll burn out. If you're driven by genuine self acceptance and presence, then the tools become constructive. As one source concluded, a vigilant realism does not foreclose the pursuit of happiness. In fact, it makes it possible.
We've explored the profound psychological and systemic costs of treating yourself like a project that constantly needs to be fixed. So if we accept that happiness is not a future achievement, but part of the daily present process, a state of being, not a destination, what is one specific improvement or optimization project you can consciously choose to stop striving for today? That's your assignment.